Enlarge this image. Democratic presidential candidate Senator Elizabeth Warren speaks to supporters at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles last month. Mario Tama, Getty Images. Hide caption, toggle caption. Mario Tama, Getty Images. Elizabeth Warren is on the rise among Democratic voters, but she and other Democrats are less popular with the overall electorate, raising concerns about a bruising primary that could go on for the better part of the next year, a new NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll finds. The survey also finds President Trump continuing to struggle, with economic concerns seemingly starting to affect his standing, leaving a cloudy picture about the 2020 presidential election. Here are some key findings from the poll, and how the results indicate what's ahead in 2020. The Democrats loading. Don't see the graphic above? Click here. Warren on the rise. Warren finds herself in a strong position with Democratic voters ahead of Thursday's Democratic presidential debate. 75% of Democratic voters now say they have a favorable impression of Warren. That's up from 53% in January, the last time the poll asked the favorability of candidates or potential candidates. That's a whopping 22-point jump. What's more, those saying they have a negative impression has gone down from 17% to 11%. Elizabeth Warren seems to be on the verge of starting to make significant and serious inroads into this contest, said Lee Miringoff, director of the Marist Institute for Public Opinion, which conducts the poll. He added, heading into the debate, she's very well positioned. Biden holding up former Vice President Joe Biden, who leads in most national polls of the Democratic contest, is also well liked, but he's seen a decline since January. 71% of Democrats say they have a positive impression of Biden, a 5-point drop, and 22% don't, an 11-point increase in his negative rating. One of the initial senses of what Joe Biden presented was that he seemed to be less of a risk, Miringoff said, but his performance so far has not been gaffe-proof, and, as a result, people are not as comfortable, and that opened up the door for others, and particularly Warren. Biden has been taking most of the slings and arrows of his Democratic opponents, given his lead in the race, and his campaign would argue that he's held up well considering. The broader electorate isn't quite sold on either of Biden or Warren. Biden has the higher name recognition, and voters overall give him just a 45% favorable, 46% unfavorable rating. Voters are similarly split on Warren, who gets a 41% favorable and 42% unfavorable rating. Sanders popular with the base, but not the general electorate. Bernie Sanders, who has retained his loyal following, has seen an increase in his favorability rating among Democrats since officially declaring his candidacy. The Vermont senator has gone from 57% positive in January to 66% now. But it's a different story with the broader electorate. 55% of voters say they have an unfavorable impression of Sanders, while just 38% have a positive one. Bernie Sanders having over 50% negative has to be concerning to Democrats looking for electability, Miringoff noted. Harris is better known, but also unpopular with general electorate. California Sen. Kamala Harris was also tested, but the difference of views of her between the primary and general election electorate are most striking. Harris has gone up 20 points with Democrats, as she has increased her name recognition, going from 36% favorable in January to 56% now. Back then more than half of Democrats were either unsure or never heard of her. That's down to just a quarter of Democrats now. So, she's worn well with Democrats, but not with the general electorate so far. Among registered voters, she has a 31% favorable, 42% unfavorable rating. The poll did not test the favorability of the candidates with a general election electorate back in January. When you look at the national electorate, Miringoff said, there's still a lot of work to be done on the part of Democrats to start Attracting a positive reaction, Democrats want to beat Trump. How the candidates fare with a general election audience could be critical, as Democrats are increasingly saying beating Trump is more important than whether a candidate shares their position on most issues. In this poll, 58% said that, an increase from 54% in July and 46% in June. The broader electorate continues to be split on whether the ideas they've heard from Democrats are going to take the country in the right direction, 46%, or the wrong one, 43%. That's a slight improvement from July, when it was the mirror opposite. Still, more independents say their ideas move the country in the wrong direction, 49%, than right one, 42%. President Trump doesn't fare much better than his potential Democratic opponents. His overall approval rating is low, 41%, a near-record number of people strongly disapprove of the job he's doing, 45%, a record number disapprove of his handling of foreign policy, 56%, and a majority say they will definitely vote against him in 2020, 52%. It's the economy? ? Loading. Don't see the graphic above. Click here. What's more, while the economy is buoying him, 51% overall and 53% of independents rate it as excellent or good, he's seen something of a bad economic summer. While the economy is still growing and unemployment is low, economic forecasts have turned gloomy with warning signs of a coming recession. Trump's economic handling has taken a hit. More now disapproved 48% than approved 47% of it, a sharp turnaround from July when a majority 53% approved of his handling of the economy. Loading. Don't see the graphic above. Click here. Overall, Americans who responded were split 47% to 46% on whether Trump's policies have strengthened or weakened the economy. And the number of people who think his policies have weakened the economy has increased 6 points since July. And yet, loading. Don't see the graphic above. Click here. Despite all that, more Americans think Trump will win re-election, 46%, than lose, 37%. Just 5% of Republicans think he will lose, while 11% of Democrats think he will win and 14% are unsure. Independents, 49% to 32%, think he's going to win. Methodology. The survey of 1,314 adults was conducted with live callers via telephone by the Marist poll and has a margin of error of 3.6 percentage points. There are 1,160 registered voters with a margin of error of 3.8 percentage points. There are 542 Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents with a margin of error of 5.6 percentage points. Let's block ads. Why?